The twin moons of Veltari hung low over the horizon, casting silver light across the spires of the palace. Soft wind whispered through the open arches of the Queen's Sky Tower, where crystalline curtains swayed like breath. Commander Elias Thorne stood alone near the edge, his uniform crisp, his back straight, but his eyes unfocused as they watched the alien stars drift overhead. He didn't hear her arrive. She moved like light on water. "You are quiet tonight, Commander," said a voice behind him. Low, melodic, unmistakably hers. He turned, slowly. Queen Avera stood there, radiant in a robe of soft violet fabric that shimmered with every movement. Her skin glowed faintly in the moonlight, pale gold with veins of blue light pulsing beneath. Her eyes, luminous and almond-shaped, regarded him not with distance, but warmth. "Your Majesty," Elias said, bowing slightly. Avera stepped closer, her bare feet silent on the polished stone floor. "We do not bow on Veltari. Not to friends. Not to saviors." He met her gaze then, unsure how to respond. "I was only doing my duty." She tilted her head, her silver hair falling like a waterfall over one shoulder. "Duty? I've heard that word often from humans. Cold, controlled. But what you did for my daughter was more than duty." Elias looked away, jaw tightening. The ambush had been brutal. The young princess had frozen, caught in the open. He hadn't hesitated, just moved. His body still ached from where the blast had grazed him. But she was alive. That was what mattered. "She's safe. That's all that matters," he muttered. Avera stepped closer. "She is safe because of you. And now Veltari custom demands that I offer a gift to honor such a life debt." He straightened slightly. "You don't have to, but I want to." Her voice softened, and with it, her fingers rose, delicate and unsure, until they brushed the edge of his sleeve. Her touch was warm, sending a strange, unfamiliar sensation through him. "You're leaving tomorrow," she said, not asking. "Your people recall you. War councils, no doubt." "Yes." "Then let me give you something you'll carry longer than scars." Elias's breath caught. Her hand slipped into his, alien fingers entwining with his calloused human ones. She guided him slowly toward a bed of silken cushions near the archway, where the stars painted moving shadows across the floor. "I don't offer this because I must," she whispered. "On Veltari, a queen's gratitude can be intimate, but only if both hearts wish it." He hesitated. She felt too much, too close. And yet, beneath the ache of duty, of walls and discipline, he realized he didn't want to leave her behind as just a face in a memory. His hand tightened slightly around hers. "I want it," he said, voice low. "I want tonight." Avera's lips curved into a slow, genuine smile. She drew him down beside her, the soft cushions cool beneath them, her eyes never leaving his. The stars watched silently as the alien queen leaned in, and for the first time, Elias let the war fall away. Tonight, he was not a soldier. He was a man, and she was not a queen. She was simply Avera, grateful, radiant, and his for this one night. Avera's fingers were impossibly soft, cool at first, then warming as her body adjusted to his touch. She traced the lines of his palm as though learning his story through skin alone. The silken cushions beneath them shifted as Elias sat across from her, boots removed, jacket folded neatly aside. He felt exposed, not physically, not yet, but emotionally. There was something disarming in how she looked at him, like he wasn't just a soldier or a symbol of another race, but a man. He cleared his throat. "Is this really a tradition?" Avera's laugh was low and musical, like wind chimes brushing in a breeze. "Only for those we truly owe. There are other ways to repay life debts, land, jewels, favors. But for matters of the heart or the soul," she reached up and brushed her fingertips gently against his temple. "This is the rarest offering. You think this is a matter of the heart?" Her gaze didn't falter. "Do you not?" Elias hesitated. "I don't know. I haven't. I didn't expect any of this. Not from a queen. Not from you. Nor did I expect a human, one who knew nothing of my world, to shield my child with his own body." She leaned forward slightly, her voice dropping into a breathy whisper. You have shaken me, Elias Thorne. You brought light to a place I had long forgotten. He could feel the heat rising in his chest. No one had ever said his name like that. Soft, reverent, almost worshipful. It stirred something in him he hadn't let himself feel in years. Avera brought a small glass vial from a hidden compartment in her robe, uncorking it with a whisper. A fragrant, glowing mist drifted out, sweet and sharp, like citrus and rain. "What is that?" he asked, blinking against the golden haze. "It's called Zavira, a bonding scent. We release it during nights of closeness. It reveals true feeling, makes our bodies honest." "Honest," he repeated a little wary. She smiled. "It means you'll feel what I feel, and I what you feel. No secrets, no masks, just truth." Elias nodded slowly, entranced. "Then let's be honest." They sat closer now, knees touching. The scent wove through him like warm electricity, heightening every sensation. When her hand slid along his jaw, he didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned into it. "I thought I was broken," he admitted quietly, surprising even himself. "I've seen things I can't unsee. Lost people I couldn't save. I didn't think there was anything left in me to give." "And yet," Avera whispered, brushing her lips just barely across his cheek, "you gave everything to a child who wasn't even yours." He turned to her then, eyes searching hers. "I didn't do it to be remembered or rewarded." She smiled, sorrowful and full of wonder. "That's why I remember you." Their lips met, not with hunger, but with reverence. Her kiss was unlike any he'd known, soft, yes, but charged with emotion. Her mouth tasted faintly of starlight and spice, her breath warm against his skin. He cupped her face, and for the first time, he didn't feel like he was falling. He felt like he was home. Their bodies aligned with quiet urgency, her robe slipping away like water, his shirt pulled over his head with slow, deliberate hands. Every touch was discovery. Every sigh, a shared truth. When he lay her down among the cushions, the moons above casting them in pale silver, Elias realized something startling. This wasn't about gratitude. It wasn't about duty. It was about healing. Two broken souls, finding something whole in the shape of each other. Their night unfolded like a story long buried, tender, passionate, and full of unspoken promises. Outside, the stars continued their ancient dance, uncaring and infinite. But within the tower, a queen and a soldier made something eternal of one fleeting night. Let me know if you'd like scene 3 next, morning after, emotions, possible separation, or if you want to explore more alien culture, dialogue, or inner thoughts from either Elias or Avera. Also, I can now work on that title font design if you're ready. The light was different. Not the cold brightness of a warship's alarm or the sterile glow of a med bay, but warm, golden, and soft. Elias stirred slowly, the silken sheets brushing against bare skin, his body aching in the quiet, satisfied way that spoke not of battle, but of closeness. A soft breeze rustled through the high archways of the Queen's Tower. The scent of Zavira still lingered faintly in the air, now softer, gentler, a ghost of what had passed between them. Elias blinked, sitting up. Avera lay beside him, one arm folded beneath her cheek, silver hair cascading over her shoulders like moonlight made flesh. Her face, so often composed and queenly, was now calm, vulnerable, beautiful in a way that made his chest ache. He didn't want to wake her. He also didn't want to leave. But reality was knocking, quietly, patiently, and without mercy. His orders to return to the human fleet had come through last night. This was, by all official accounts, the end. Avera stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She smiled sleepily, and for a moment, everything else faded. "You're still here," she said softly. "Didn't want to disappear on you." She reached up, her fingers brushing his shoulder. "You wouldn't be the first to leave without a word. But I knew you wouldn't." He exhaled. "You make it hard. To leave. To pretend this didn't mean anything." Silence settled between them. Not awkward, not painful. Just full. Like the air itself carried unspoken words. Avera sat up, the sheets falling to her waist. She reached for a folded robe nearby, slipping it over her shoulders. Even in simplicity, she was regal. "I've had many nights in this tower," she said, not looking at him. "Ceremonial, passionate, strategic, but never like this." Elias stood and began dressing, the quiet rustle of fabric the only sound between them for a while. "Do you regret it?" he asked. She turned, her golden eyes locking with his. "No, but I fear it will haunt me." "Why?" "Because I will remember it," she said simply. "When duty consumes me, when the war returns, when I sit in council chambers surrounded by those who don't understand, I will remember you, Elias Thorne, and no one else will know why I sometimes smile or ache." He stepped toward her, lifting her hand and pressing it gently to his chest. "You won't be the only one haunted," he whispered. A soft knock interrupted them. Avera closed her eyes briefly, composing herself. A voice spoke from beyond the chamber's curtain. "Your Majesty, the Terran shuttle awaits Commander Thorne. Clearance has been granted." Elias swallowed. "That's my cue." Avera nodded, slowly withdrawing her hand from his chest. He moved to the archway, pausing there as the breeze lifted the curtains one last time. He looked back. "Do you think we'll see each other again?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she rose, walking to him, standing close. So close. She leaned up and kissed him, not like the night before. This was slower, sadder, like the sealing of a memory. "If the stars are kind," she whispered, "they will bring you back to me." And then she reached into the folds of her robe, drawing out a small crystal vial, round and glowing, filled with the soft shimmer of Zavira. She pressed it into his hand. "So you never forget how I felt about you, even if duty steals your memory." He took it, fingers closing gently around the warmth. Then, with one last look, he turned and walked into the light. The doors closed behind him, and in the tower, beneath the morning sun and the drifting scent of memory, the alien queen stood alone, her heart full, and her soul marked forever by a human who had expected nothing and gave her everything. Let me know if you'd like Scene 4 to follow. Perhaps a time skip, a reunion, or a sudden twist that brings them back together. Or we can add Elias's POV from his return, or explore Avera's private thoughts after he leaves. And let me know when you're ready for the title font design. I can tailor it to match this story's elegant and emotional vibe. 6 months. That was how long it had been since Elias Thorne left Veltari. 6 months of battles, orders, and sleepless nights in cold steel corridors. The vial of Zavira never left his pocket, tucked in the inner lining of his jacket, where no one could see it, but where he could feel it against his heart. Every night, he'd uncork it just slightly, just enough to breathe her in. The scent always took him back, to the tower, to the way she'd whispered his name like a promise. He'd tried to bury it beneath duty, but some truths couldn't be silenced. And now he was back. The shuttle rumbled as it descended through Veltari's atmosphere, skies swirling with amethyst clouds. The war was shifting, alliances breaking, new threats rising. A joint diplomatic mission had brought him here again. But this time, he was not a rescuer. He was a messenger. As the palace spires rose into view, shimmering like crystal spears, Elias felt the ache in his chest bloom into something he couldn't name. Hope, dread, want. He hadn't sent word ahead. He didn't know if she'd want to see him. He didn't even know if she could. But when he stepped off the shuttle and onto the velvet-lined stairs of the landing platform, he saw her. Queen Avera stood at the edge of the welcome hall, flanked by guards, but her eyes were locked on him. And the moment she saw him, those golden eyes widened just slightly. Not in surprise, in recognition, and something deeper. She dismissed her guards with a simple wave of her hand. Elias stepped forward. Their gazes did not break. "You've returned," she said softly. "I wasn't sure I would," he replied. "But the universe seems to keep pulling me back to you." She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. There was a storm beneath the surface. They walked together down the hallway, alone, though they both knew dozens of eyes were watching. The moment the doors to her private chamber closed behind them, Elias turned. "You never sent word," he said. "I didn't know if you wanted any." "I wanted everything." Avera's breath hitched, just barely. She walked to the tall window overlooking the city and placed her hands gently on the glass. You were gone. The galaxy kept moving. I had to move with it. I know, he said, approaching her. But I couldn't stop thinking about that night. About you. She turned, and for a heartbeat, her royal mask slipped. Then why did you never come back? I thought you moved on. That I was just a moment in your long life. A whisper. You were a storm, Elias Thorne. One I never recovered from. Silence stretched between them, heavy with all the words unsaid. And then she stepped closer. There's something you don't know, she said, voice trembling ever so slightly. His brow furrowed. What is it? She reached for a panel on the wall, pressing a sequence of glowing runes. A moment later, a soft chime rang, and a door opened to an adjoining room. A small figure stood in the doorway. A young child, pale golden skin, silver hair, eyes not quite hers, not quite his, but undeniably theirs. Elias couldn't speak. Avera looked at him, eyes glossy. This is why I never reached out. I didn't want you to feel bound, but you should know she exists, and she is a part of you. The child stared at him curiously, fingers holding the edge of the door. Elias dropped to one knee. Hey there, he said, his voice thick. I'm Elias. The girl tilted her head. Mama says your heart is brave, that you jumped in front of fire. I did, he said, smiling through tears. But she's the one who saved me. Avera watched him, her hand pressed over her chest. And in that moment, the war, the distance, the time, all of it fell away. The stars had crossed again. And this time, they brought something more than a night. They brought a future. The sun over Veltari was unlike any Elias had ever seen. Massive, golden green, and filtered through the crystalline canopy that shaded the palace gardens. Its light shimmered off the leaves of singing vines and bioluminescent petals that opened to greet him with soft melodies. But none of that compared to the small hand gripping his finger. Her name was Sealani, a fusion of ancient Veltari and Terran syllables. It meant gift of two worlds. She walked beside him now, her tiny bare feet padding against the stone path, silver hair bouncing with each step. She looked up at him with wide, curious eyes that flickered gold when the sunlight caught them. She's not afraid of me, Elias murmured, glancing back toward Avera. The queen followed a few steps behind, wrapped in a flowing violet robe, her expression unreadable. She's drawn to you. She always has been, even before she understood why. They approached a garden alcove where cushions and fruits had been laid out for them, part Veltari custom, part maternal instinct. Sealani plopped down immediately, grabbing a handful of soft crystal berries and offering one to Elias. He took it gently. Thanks, Starbeam. The nickname had just happened. He'd said it without thinking, and she'd giggled like the stars themselves had tickled her. Is this what you imagined? Avera asked as she settled beside them. Elias considered the question, biting into the berry. Sweet and sharp, like the last few days had been. Honestly? No. I didn't let myself imagine anything. I thought we were just one night carved out of duty and feeling. And now, he looked over at Sealani, who was attempting to stack berries in a tiny pyramid on his knee. Now I feel like I was asleep, he said, and I finally woke up. Avera's gaze softened. I worried you'd hate me for not telling you sooner, that you'd feel trapped. I feel like someone gave me something I never knew I wanted, Elias said quietly. And now that I have her, now that I have you, I can't imagine walking away again. A pause. The only sound was Sealani humming to herself, a Veltari lullaby Elias recognized from the night long ago. The song Avera had hummed as she drifted off in his arms. I've been alone for so long, Avera said suddenly, her voice low and almost brittle. Even before you came, even with the crown. But when I saw her and saw you again, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. Elias took her hand. We can try. We don't have to define it all now. But I can stay. Avera looked at him sharply. You would leave your command? I already sent word, he said. Requested reassignment to the diplomatic corps on Veltari. They owe me that much. And if they say no, I'll resign. She blinked, stunned. You would do that for us? I'd do it for me, Elias said. Because I finally found something that doesn't come from orders or war. I found you. And her. Sealani. unaware of the gravity around her, had managed to balance 5 berries and was now clapping for herself. "Look," she beamed, pointing at her wobbly creation. "Like a tower." "You're a tower," Elias said, leaning down and scooping her into his lap. "The strongest one in this whole place." Avera watched them, her throat tightening. "I thought I'd have to raise her alone," she said softly. "You're not alone anymore," Elias whispered. The garden fell into peace again, the sun glowing green-gold above. Somewhere in the branches, a pair of Vishari birds sang a duet, a rare thing, for they only sang together when bonded for life. A breeze stirred the petals. Elias closed his eyes. He had expected a battlefield when he came back. He found a home, and though he didn't know what trials would come next, what political storms or cultural resistance waited just beyond the palace, he knew one thing for sure. This wasn't the end of their story. It was the beginning. The council chamber was carved from living crystal, its walls humming with quiet energy, ancient and solemn. 12 Veltari nobles sat in a semicircle, their expressions carved from stone. The council rarely gathered unless the queen herself summoned them. Today she had. Elias stood to Avera's right, dressed in ceremonial gray, half military, half neutral, his human insignia removed as she'd requested. Beside him, the queen of Veltari wore white and silver, her crown glinting like starlight. Her gaze swept the chamber. "I stand before you," Avera said, "not only as your queen, but as a mother, and as a woman." A few murmurs rippled through the council. "I have brought forth a child of 2 worlds," she continued, "and I stand beside the man who helped save that child, who helped save us. Many of you believe this union weakens the bloodline, that it makes us vulnerable." High Chancellor Ress leaned forward, his red robes rustling. "You ask us to accept a human commander as your consort. That is no small request." "I ask for no permission," Avera said, her voice steady. "Only recognition. I do not need tradition to validate what has already become truth. Elias Thorne is part of this world now, by love, by life, and by legacy." Rest turned to Elias. "And what of your world, Commander? Have you renounced your loyalty to Earth?" Elias stepped forward. "I haven't renounced anything," he said calmly. "But loyalty is earned. The Veltari people showed me courage. The Queen showed me grace. And her daughter gave me a reason to live beyond war." The chamber fell silent. "I won't pretend to be one of you, but I will protect this world with everything I have. I've fought long enough to know what's worth fighting for. And I choose this family. I choose peace." Avera placed a hand on his arm. Ress studied them both. "And if the council denies this bond?" Elias answered first. "Then I stay anyway," Avera added. "And the council must choose whether to evolve or be left behind." The oldest of the council, Elder Mari, rose slowly. Her voice was quiet, yet every syllable rang clear. "Change has always frightened the Veltari," she said. "But it is the stagnant who fall first when the stars shift. The Queen has chosen love, and she has birthed unity." She turned to Elias. "Commander Thorne, do you swear to guard our Queen and her heir, not as an outsider, but as a father and as a partner to this realm?" Elias dropped to one knee. "I swear it. By every star I've flown beneath, by every scar I carry, I swear." Mari nodded once. "The old way's been today," she said, "and the future begins." The crystal walls shimmered brighter. A quiet resonance moved through the chamber. Veltari magic, older than memory, accepting the vow. Avera stepped forward and lifted Elias to his feet. And in front of the council, with the past behind them and the future burning bright, she kissed him, not as a queen marking a choice, but as a woman choosing love. Months passed. Peace held. The child of 2 worlds grew bold and bright, racing through the palace halls with bare feet and laughter. The people whispered of her, Sealani, the Starborn, a symbol of a new dawn. And each evening, Elias sat beside Avera beneath the crystal boughs of the royal gardens, telling stories of the stars. Sometimes he would look at her, not with awe, but with gratitude, as if she were the home he never knew he needed. And when the sky turned dark and the stars came out to watch, Three always seemed to burn brightest. One for him, one for her, and one for the little girl who made them a family.